Okay, how about now? Are we live now?
Yes, we are.
Okay, did the invitations go out?
I didn't get any, but I somehow got added in
Okay,
earlier.
hello again. Yeah, hello again, ladies and gentlemen. This is Maxwell Ivy, Max to my friends, and Mr. Midway to some of you, uh, along with my good friend and moderator, Mitchell Mitchell Walker, and we're doing another. And we're doing another Google Hangouts on air here from the Midway Marketplace. That's midwaymarketplace.com or mr-midway.com. I heard the ding that time, Mitchell. Or mr-midway.com. And we talk about the amusement industry, blogging, social media, podcasting, and of course YouTube Hangouts on air that we're so good at.
It
Uh, I heard the dings, Mitchell. Did we get them invited?
says that invites went out.
All right. Good. We're getting better every week. We still don't know exactly what we're doing, or excuse me, still don't exactly know what I'm doing, but we're getting better every week. Okay. Let me see what I was wanting to do now. This week we made a little more progress on the logo, and I was hoping that Kelly would make it in this time, and that if she does, we won't end up muting her.
I
Um,
won't touch any buttons this time.
well, it's funny because you would think with me being blind and you being the sighted one that I would have been the one who pressed the button. So I'm just glad it wasn't me. Um, before I try to get rolling here, is there anything you want to mention?
Not at this
Anything
point
we?
in time.
Okay. All righty. Um, well, I want to give people a few minutes to get in before I start trying to share those images, and hopefully Eric or Chelsea or somebody else will show up, or we'll get some messages via Google. Um, it's when I first started doing these, I said I was going to give it a month and see if there was any progress and how I felt about them, and then we'd go from there. And of course, the first 2 weeks we did a regular hangout, and then took us a couple weeks after that before we started doing the hangouts on air and having them recorded to YouTube. So I said I'd give myself another month. So here it is, another month later, um, and Ashley Fox at Mad Lemmings, my unofficial, un, he's the webmaster. He solves all my technical problems on the website, and he's the one who got it moved over from the old site to the new WordPress version, and he did a lot of work on it. He thought I should talk about what benefits, if any, that I've seen from the doing the Hangouts, and uh, basically the reviews are a little early at this point. We had a couple of weeks there we had trouble getting started because of the Dropbox issue, and we only in the last couple of weeks started getting people to come on regularly with us. So I think it's still too early to make a decision one way or the other. But I do think that there's a few things that I can take from it. One, not that this is a surprise to anybody that knows me, but it does require some perseverance and some dedication, and basically just deciding that it's going to work, and that even if it doesn't work perfectly this week or the first few minutes of the show, that it will get better. I can still see the potential for these, especially if I can get more people to come in and participate in them. And once we get out on the road and start meeting people in person, I'm hopeful that some of the people we uh, interact with for the YouTube shows will be available to come on at least for part of this show. And since myself and whoever's helping me with the YouTube shows will be in the same location, we'll be able to run this off of one computer or two computers in the room, and we should be able to avoid any technical problems that cause these slow starts. So I think that's there's potential there. And I have met a few nice people. We have had a few people come in and take part in this. We've had a few good questions. So I think that it's just going to take some more time to grow the audience and to come into my own as far as how this is going to go and what kind of format we're going to have to it. So I say we'll give it at least another month, which would put us into the beginning of June, and hopefully by then I'll be out doing the YouTube shows. And then if for some reason I do decide that this experiment didn't work, then I will definitely have regular YouTube product to replace it with. So how's that sound to you, Mitchell? Does that sound like
That sounds like a plan to me.
Yeah. Anything that you've noticed about me or the Hangouts in general that you've noticed since we started doing this that you could see as a benefit for doing them?
Well, I think as a community, we're starting to see a lot of different individuals step up in your community that just, I mean, I'd only popped into your community a couple months ago, but as individuals are stepping up saying, hey, I don't have anything to contribute, but at least I'm here, it's kind of it's a good thing to see happening, because at least you know that there are people out there that want you to move forward and want you to do what's best for you. Because we've seen people, especially before, hey, I don't really have anything to contribute to this conversation, but I'm here to back you up, Max. And those people have popped up before, so I think that at least that's a good sign.
Yeah, and that's another thing. I'm not a multitasker. We both know that. I have trouble doing one technical thing at a time. So I really have no way of knowing how much activity there is on Google or Twitter while we're doing this until it's over with and I read my emails. So I'm sure I'm at least hopeful that there's a fair amount of people out there that are watching or listening in the background who will maybe send a message or make a comment on the show, but I'm just not aware of it because it's not coming across the speech on my end where I know that it's happening. So I'm glad I thought to ask you, because if that makes me feel a lot better too. And that's one thing about being out here on the net, blogging, podcasting, social media. For the most part, just about anybody that I have run into out here has been very helpful, friendly, encouraging, and I think that's mainly because most all of them have either been where I'm at, or maybe they're thinking about trying some of the things that I've tried, and so they can all appreciate what I'm going through trying to make this thing work with the website, the blogging, the YouTube shows. So. And I've told people several times on Facebook and Twitter and stuff that if people knew how social the blogging world is and how many really genuine, nice people there are out there working at it, everybody'd have a blog. So I'm going to try to do some screen sharing again here, because we've made some. Kelly has made some progress on the logo, and I wanted to bring it up here. Okay. Okay, here we go. This is the first image. This is normal resolution. Wait a minute, this might be the wrong one. Is this one with the Ferris wheel, or is this the one with just the logo?
This is the one with just the logo.
Okay, I gave you the right one, but the screen reader said the wrong one. Okay, this is normal resolution, and after trying to work with different carnival and amusement park themed images, Kelly said, that she had an idea of what she wanted to do was to come up with a logo like some of the classic logos of Coca-Cola, McDonald's, and Nike, people like that. Something that we could embed in other images and put on whatever we want, but that no matter where people see that image, they would know that it's something having to do with me and the Midway Marketplace. So that was what was behind this idea here. And the few people that have commented on it seem to like the idea. I mean, a couple people suggested that maybe it's a little too retro, but I don't know. I kind of like it. Most people have had really favorable comments on it. And like I say, this is the normal resolution version of it. What do you think of it, Mitchell?
I like it. It stands out, and it's an easy one that even without the color, you still know what it is.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what Kelly was going for. So it sounds like she nailed it. Now I'm going to see if I can click back over here and show you the high resolution version. Partly because I want you to see it, and partly because I get a kick out of actually being able to make this thing work. Well, people that know me know that I'm if nothing else, I'm honest. So, okay, this should be the high resolution image.
Yep.
Okay, and I'm not 100% sure of what the difference. I think the high resolution one is supposed to be more suitable for transferring to other stuff. So, and can you tell me? I know it all has to do with your whatever screen quality you have on your computer, but can you tell much difference between the two versions?
When I open the links myself, yes. On the Hangout, no.
Okay, all right, that's right. I sent you the links. Man, has it been that long that I've forgotten I sent you the links?
I forgot to reply to you, so that's.
I went to the dentist this afternoon for a teeth cleaning. Maybe that's why I forgot. Okay, but I did send it to you, and you could tell a big difference when you opened them up on your computer.
I couldn't say a big difference. There was a difference, though.
Okay, was it? I imagine it doesn't really have anything to do with the image. It just has to do with the sharpness of what's there.
The clarity and how far you can zoom in. The more high definition you can make the image bigger without it pixelizing as much.
Okay.
That's what you'd want to do if you're using a banner or putting up a big sign. You'd want to use the higher resolution.
Okay. Well, you and Kelly and Chelsea, y'all are all trying to educate a guy here who hasn't had good vision since the 70s. So I'm kind of actually impressed that we've been able to get this far and this close to something this good, considering that I have no way of knowing if it's what. Well, I asked the friends and the family, and I put it on social media, and that's basically how I find out if it's good or not. So I have to really give Kelly a lot of credit for being able to come up with something like that. Like I say, she's had to do a lot of it without much feedback from me, and what feedback she has had has been delayed because, like I say, when she sends it to me, I have to basically send it around and see what other people think of it. And then this will be the last image I have for you of the. Okay, this one is of the logo embedded into a Ferris wheel image. And I just wanted to share that. She said that would be an example of, what it would look like when we put it in with other images and printed it. And got several compliments on this one from people who said it reminded them of back when they were younger. I don't exactly know which Ferris wheel it is, whether it's a regular seat Ferris wheel or a gondola Ferris wheel, or if it's facing forwards or sideways. But I would assume it's probably a gondola wheel facing sideways, where you can see the wheel.
Yep.
Okay.
That looks to be what it is. I'm not an expert on Ferris wheels by any stretch of the imagination, but
Well,
it's sideways so you can see the wheel and the logo's
yeah,
inside it.
yeah. She said that was just an example, but excuse me. And she's working on helping me get some quotes together on getting it printed on different stuff that we can use for the Indiegogo campaign. And I'm a little behind. I don't know if people remember or not, but I had set myself a goal of going live with the Indiegogo campaign on the 1st of May and planning to be out traveling by the 1st of June. Well, we're a little behind on the campaign, but there really wasn't any way to avoid it because you can't have merchandise without a logo, and we didn't have a logo, or at least not one that would have suited this purpose. So they did. The woman at Indiegogo did input all my information, and so it's ready. All I need to do now is I need to add a photo with the new logo. I need to record a video, and I need to decide on what merchandise I'm going to use and what level of funding will be required to receive that item. So, and I've been looking at some other people's projects. They have something they call Playbook, where you can look at what other people use for their inducements and trying to maybe get some ideas. They recommend you have somewhere between 5 and 8 different levels of support, and that means 5 to 8 different items that you can give people. So we're not getting there as fast as I wanted to, but I think we are getting there.
Progress is being made, especially
Yeah.
since they're working with you.
Yeah, I was really impressed that they not only offered to input all the information for me, but they actually did it. I'm generally an optimistic person. I generally like to to believe the best out of people. But when you're talking to employees from a large company, who I'm sure have lots of other jobs besides helping me get my thing going, I was impressed with. The only thing that I'm disappointed in is that they wouldn't give me permission to mention the name of the person or what department they work in, or so I would have liked to have give them more credit for it, but basically just mentioning that the support department at Indiegogo has been helping me get it up as part of their commitment to making their site as accessible for the blind and otherwise disabled people as possible. So, and I really appreciate their help, just like I appreciate any help I get out here. Let me see now. What item, where was that? Oh, yeah. I got a couple new rides in this week, and since we don't have anybody coming in yet, I thought I would put the picture up here and mention them. Now this should be a picture of a Irely Lupoplane. It might look familiar. It might look like a smaller version of a Kamikaze, or the Double Ranger as they call it over in Europe. So it's an older ride from the 70s, but it's been completely refurbished, and the owner is a fellow from California that I've done business with before. I've sold rides for him before, and they've been as advertised. So if he says that he's gone through the ride and completely renovated it, then I'm sure it is. It's an expensive piece. It's listed for $90,000 or best offer. He would look at a trade on it. But it is an easy ride to set up and take down, and you can pull it as part of a set of doubles. And some parts of the country you can even, where you can pull 3 trailers, it's legal that way too. They put a new hydraulic ram on it to make raising and lowering it to set it up and take it down easier. And it's a good adult major ride. I mean, on a small to medium show or on a large show that sometimes splits up into multiple locations, it would be a good ride. Not exactly sure about the $90,000 price tag. I do know that last year I sold a similar ride that wasn't in as good a shape as this one for $50,000. So I don't think it's too out of line given the condition and the amount of work they've put into it. So, you ever seen one of these, Mitchell? I mean, I know y'all don't get a lot of carnivals where you're at in Kansas, but
I've seen one, but I've never actually ridden one.
yeah, I have some friends up in Colorado, Wright's Amusements, and last I heard they were still using theirs, but they were using it mainly because it gave them a unit that they could tow behind one of their sets of generators. So, oh yeah, and I forgot that when they were working on this, they extended part of the hitch, so there's room on this trailer to also carry your ticket boxes or your electrical boxes, lead wire, or whatever else you just don't have room somewhere else for, which is pretty much a common problem when you're moving up and down the road every week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. I think it's a heck of a ride, and somebody, couple of he's also got another ride that I'm fixing to put up here, and I want to mention them together, partly because he did send them to me together, but also because he is willing to entertain a package offer, or maybe if somebody wants to trade him a big piece for both of them, then he'd be open to that. I'm fixing to show you one here that I doubt you've even seen because it's been a while. Well, you might have seen its newer cousin, but you've never seen one of these, I bet. This is what's called a roundup. Sometimes they were called a wagon wheel, and back in the day before they were trailer mounted, instead of raising up, the floor would lower down, and they were called the open bucket. So that's
one where it spins around real fast, and then the floor drops out, and you're stuck to it.
Yeah, that was the park version.
Okay.
There's actually a couple of those over in Europe that travel, where you can actually go to like the Oktoberfest or something, and you can stand on the platform and it spins and sticks you to the wall, and then the floor drops out below you. I'm not saying I would want to move one or would want to have to even provide the payroll for somebody that moves one, but they do over in Europe. This was a natural progression because this is a trailer mounted ride, and on this one it spins, and then after it spins a while, it's got a hydraulic ram that raises the thing you're standing on up 90 degrees. So basically, picture turning a bucket on its side while it's still spinning. And the current version of this ride is called the Zero Gravity. It's made by a company called Dartron. They bought the rights to the patent after the companies that were making this ride went out of business or sold out to them, depending on who you ask. And the Zero Gravity brand new is about a $375,000 ride. It's not much different than this ride. Physically, they're very, very similar. The Zero Gravity probably has a little bit more in the way of newer type safety devices than this, but they're both very safe rides. Basically because the centrifugal force pins you to the side of the ride. When it starts raising up, there's really nowhere for you to go. And so it's a very safe ride. It's an older ride, but it's in very good condition. They spent the last winter working on this ride and the Lupoplane, and they're using them. They've both passed California state inspections, which is it's not as tough as New Jersey or Florida, but it's probably tougher than Oklahoma, Ohio, or Michigan. I'd put it in the top 4 or 5 states in the country as far as difficulty of passing it legitimately. So I'd say it's a pretty tough inspection, and both these rides passed. The roundup isn't what's called a folding roundup. The sweeps and the cages have to be installed and taken apart each week, but they use a chain hoist. And I'm told that 3 people can do this ride in an hour and a half, which is pretty much the standard for any adult major ride. You know, most of your average adult majors are going to take an hour and a half or more, 2, 3, 4 people. So even with it not folding, for them to be able to get this ride up in an hour and a half that's not bad. That's comparable to a Sizzler, musical chairs, you know, some of the easier rides out there to set up and tear down. So I don't know if this is a narrow version or a wider version. Some of these have a narrower circle and they ride 30 people, and some of them have a bigger circle and they ride 36. But you load them all at one time. It's high capacity to getting them on and off. And the thing about it is because of how much a zero gravity costs brand new, these rides are always in demand used. I've only just started promoting this item. The asking price on it, I'm sorry for people for the shaking of the monitor there. My knee started tightening up. The asking price on it's $115. So you'd be looking at about $205 asking for both of them. He would be interested in possibly trading for one big piece. You could probably pull the Lupoplane behind the Roundup if you wanted to go out to California and get them both at one time. And I've got more pictures of both of them on the website. I've got pictures of the Roundup partially set up too. And the owner is the fellow who invited us to come out and see him in July to film one of our shows. And he's promised me this weekend he's going to take some video of these rides in operation. Once he does that, then next week my plan is to do another one of the Calliope Corner shows based on the Roundup and the Lupoplane. So I'll have the video and the pictures. Like I say, I doubt you've been anywhere that has one of these Roundups.
I believe you're right.
The last time I had one for sale on my website, it was $50,000. It wasn't in as good a condition as this one is. I know somebody who went and was standing next to that ride when it was running, and there was a lot of rattle and shake to it, as if it wasn't going together very tightly. I had that ride for sale on my website for $50,000. This is a few years ago. I probably got 2 or 3 emails a week from people asking about it. And then after the owner saw how much people wanted to buy it, he decided not to sell it. So I'm sure I'll hear from at least one of the showmen in Australia or New Zealand about it, although the cost of exporting a ride like this to Australia or South Africa is not going to be cheap. It's probably a 40 or 45 foot semi-trailer, which means you're looking at 4 to 5 roll-on, roll-off spaces. And just as an example, a few years ago, I had to get a quote for a Rocketplane that was going from California to Australia. The Rocketplane was probably about the same size and weight as the Roundup is. We were asking $25,000 for the ride. The shipping quote was $25,000. So I wouldn't be a bit surprised if it would be that much, and that's just the shipping. That wouldn't include the customs inspections fees and whatever taxes they charge to import an amusement ride into Australia. So But I do think I'll get I'll get more than a few people interested. I usually get at least one email a month from somebody asking me if I can find them a roundup. So uh, the nearest thing to this ride, as far as another new ride, is a ride called the Spinball that's made by Rides and Fun over in Italy, and that's a company that I represent for here in North America. I'm their official dealer in the U.S. and Canada. But the difference is the Spinball is a sit-down version, but it's the only other ride I can really think of that's similar to this. So if anybody has any questions, or if they're interested in buying either of those rides, or if they want to talk to me about any of the other equipment on the website, I'd be more than happy to hear from you and answer any questions I can. And if I don't know the answer, I'll either get it from the owner or I'll put you in contact with them so you can find out as much about what you're looking at purchasing before you make your decision. So, trying to think. Like I say, both of those rides are in California. They're up and running. And has anybody else joined us so far, Mitchell, or are we still
Not yet. It's just the two of us still.
Well,
we're halfway through. This hasn't happened in a while.
No, it hasn't. But you know what? You know what caused it? I meant to mention this. I had a senior moment. I know I'm only 48, but I did have one. When I put in the original details on the Hangout, I put in April 8th instead of the 7th. And I didn't notice that until a couple of hours ago when I went in and edited and changed it. And I sent out a bunch of posts about it, hoping that people would still show up. And I sent texts to Chelsea and Kelly, hoping that they would come in anyway. But you know, this is probably why. I think I don't know how I did that. I do not understand how I got the 8th instead of the 7th, especially since usually after you do it, you get that link back, and if you just read the link, it'll tell you. So I don't know. I didn't notice the link until Susan Cooper sent me her reply saying that she couldn't be part of the Hangout this week. When I was clicking on that link to come back over to Google, I noticed, uh-oh. So that's probably why it's just us, because you are right. In the past few weeks, we've had Chelsea and Eric, and we had William from Canada, and Paul was going to try to come on again this week, but he said until that plug-in for the Hangouts loads onto his computer that he really doesn't have a way of coming in and joining us. I'll do better next week. I'm sorry to anybody who missed their opportunity to come in. I do apologize for that. Sharing the logo and the ride pictures, I was hoping that we would have more people and that there'd be more discussion, but I think this has still been a pretty solid show for us so far. Have you got any suggestions on what we can discuss the rest of the 20 minutes or so here, Mitchell?
I could probably come up with something. Sorry,
there's no reason for you to apologize. You are the moderator. You're doing your part. I'm supposed to be doing my part a little more. I have continued to ask people to subscribe to the feed and to join us here. And this week I'm going to start adding some more people to the Hangout, because it doesn't hurt anything for them to get the notification, and they may decide to join us, and if they don't, they might at least mention it to somebody else when they get that notification. So we've got 100 spots. We're using 12 of them, so I'm going to go through my Google Plus contacts and see if I can't load those up. So next week, when I send out notifications, we got more chances of getting some people to come in. Which reminds me, I usually do the radio show with Brian the Hammer Jackson on Friday, but one of the people that is involved in the show, Kelly Corbin, the lady that's working on the logo, told me that I would enjoy their show, so I should listen. Well, while I was listening, they started talking about me, so I called in, and we ended up having a nice conversation, and I ended up connecting with Chris Yankee, who's also big in social media, and he's got a good presence on Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn and stuff like that, and he enjoys helping people like myself, so definitely hoping to connect with him and see if he wants to take part in a future conversation. And I guess from now on I'll be listening to Brian's show on a more regular basis, because if there's an opportunity for me to join in anywhere and have people hear my voice or see my face and get more familiar with me, I pretty much have to do it. So but like I say, I think that's what I'll do. I think I'll add some more people to the Hangout on Air notification circle. And if anybody's watching that wants to be added, first you have to connect with me on Google Plus, and then we can add you to the Hangout invite for next week. Okay, I'm going to bring up another image here. This is an item I haven't done much with in a while, but it's one of the most unusual pieces of equipment I've ever been asked to list, and it deserves for people to see the picture again. I wish I had wish I knew how to make the slideshow of the art panels play, but this ride goes back to 1850 in Italy, and it's rather weird looking. It's a carousel, which only because in general they refer to roundabout rides as carousels, but I don't know if you can see it in the picture or not, but basically the characters are powered from the floor up instead of the ceiling down like most carousels. And the artwork is hand painted, and my brother Patrick tells me that most of the scenes look like stuff out of the Inquisition.
That's interesting.
And that's, yeah, it is weird, and that the vehicles look more like people and animals, look more like people than and other animals that we're not generally used to seeing on more traditional merry-go-rounds and carousels. So I think there's one that's actually looks like the figure of a queen. And the owner of this ride discovered it in a cellar near the ocean, and they've set it up once to operate it for a music video that was recorded from an Italian singer back in the 70s. I can't pronounce her name, but she was a famous TV actress over there who committed suicide. And the music she sings is very haunting type music, but I don't understand a single word of it. And so far, I've put it out there on social media hoping somebody would recognize her or the music and tell me what it is, but so far no luck. But if you go on YouTube, the video is up there, and it's like Italian carousel or antique Italian carousel is how it's referenced. Or if you go on the website, you can search for antique Italian carousel, and you'll find it under the equipment listings. You can look at all the pictures. There's a lot of pictures of it, and you can watch the slideshow of the art panels. And this thing really belongs in a museum. Some people say a museum of art. Some people say a museum for for carnival and park type equipment. But it really should be in a climate controlled location. It's all handcrafted wood, You know, the artwork, like I said, is all hand painted. So you're looking at something that's not getting better by being stored where it's currently located. You know, can you see much of it there? I mean, I'm told it's a pretty good picture of the item.
The picture looks like it could be from the early 1900s.
Well, they date it from 1850 because that's the they say the uniforms that some of the people are wearing in the on the ride there go back to when Italy became a unified nation, and the uniforms were changed. So that's basically how they're dating it. But they figure 1850, 1851, somewhere along in there is where it goes back to.
That's crazy.
I know, and the crazier thing is that he wants what he's asking for this piece that, like I say, in my opinion, it belongs in a museum somewhere, is less than any of the carousels I currently have for sale on my website that are mechanical running carousels in use. You know, so he's had offers on it, but all the people that have offered on it have wanted to break it up and sell it in parts. And he would really like to keep it together as one piece. And it's one of those items I took it and listed it. It's not my usual thing because I'm not exactly sure you can consider it a piece of amusement equipment, but it's close enough. And it is unusual. I just wish I had the kind of contacts it would take to really do something with it, because I think you really need somebody in the art world or someone who deals with auction houses and museums, somebody who might know somebody on a personal basis who could find it the home that it deserves. But I keep working on it. Like I said, that's why I wanted to show the picture, since I knew we had some time here anyway. And I also knew that I had never showed it to you, so it's different, ain't it?
It's definitely different.
It's probably the definition of unique. As far as I know, there are no others anywhere near like it. The owner says there is one ride that was based on it, but the copy is not flattering to the original. It's kind of nice to be able to pull the pictures up and share them with people while we're doing this. And I still think eventually we're going to be able to fold in some interview segments or some equipment videos. I think we finally figured out that the reason I was having so much trouble sharing a video the other day is that I was trying to do it in QuickTime. And in QuickTime, after you open the file, you have to click Start. But if I opened it in Real Player or some other player where it starts automatically, that made it much easier to share. So, but hopefully in the future we'll be able to share some segments of a video interview or of a ride or anything else we need to discuss on here. I figured I'd put the logo back up just in case anybody that is watching didn't see it in the beginning. That was the primary thing I had for this week. And at least I can tell Kelly that she's pretty much nailed the logo. We just have to work on getting the merchandise figured out and see what kind of images we want to put with the logo, if any. So another thing checked off the list.
Yep.
I got another call from the people at in Topeka trying to bring back the old Joyland amusement park, and sadly they haven't made much progress. But they're still determined. They still think there's a chance that they can reopen the park. So that's one of those things. I hope that they are actually successful. The land where the park is for sale as a park. It's not what you'd call a well, here in Houston, when we lost Astroworld because the land became more valuable as real estate than the park was as a park. The land where Joyland used to be is not in an especially good neighborhood, and the property value isn't very high. So it's not like that property is being developed. Plus, it's not a growing area where they need new developments, at least not right this minute. So at least the rides and some of the equipment is still there, although there has been some vandalism.
Boyle's Joyland is currently a flea market under the same name, Boyle's Joyland. Go over there, and in all honesty, I only go to that side of town maybe once a year, just because of the area of town that it's in.
Yeah, it is pretty bad, from what I heard. But I keep hoping that at some point they're going to at least get on the road to putting it back in business, because as somebody who grew up in this business, I hate to see equipment, especially historical equipment like what they had there, being abused and pretty much let to go to rot. I mean, there are no other examples that I know of a pretzel of a Wacky Shack like they had out there. You know, it's the closest thing to it would have been the pretzel dark ride at Kennywood, and Kennywood scrapped that a few years ago. So there are very few pieces like that still out there, no matter what condition you're talking about. You know, the water ride, the coaster, and the old Wacky Shack. Those were, if the historical registry for amusement equipment or coasters really meant anything in this country, all three of those pieces would have been on it, and they would have been protected. You know, but we don't really preserve the amusement industry in this country, and when a park goes out of business, generally the equipment ends up either burned, bulldozed, taken across the scale and sold as scrap, or sold at auction to be exported out of the country. So, but like I say, those three rides that they had out there are part of Americana. They're part of the history of the industry, but they're probably never going to be used again. But I do my best to help them and advise them as I can, because, like I say, I would like to see them succeed.
I would like to see something to do in Topeka.
Yeah, that would be good too. From what I understand, there isn't a lot to do there.
There's nothing.
Yeah. I have, I've also talked to them about, the neighborhood parks, the 10 to 15 ride small medium parks, most of them seem to do so much better, partly because they don't need as much land, the investment costs aren't as high, the amount of money you have to gross isn't as severe, and we've got like 5 or 6 of them here in the Houston area, where they're not what you'd call amusement parks based on the standards of Six Flags or Fiesta Texas, but they do provide entertainment to their parts of the city, and even during the spring break and summer, you'll see people go from one side of the city to the other to go check out one of these other neighborhood or regional parks. And I think something like that is what they really ought to be trying to do in Topeka. But it's hard for them to just basically give up on what was there before and move on. So
A lot of it has to do with the Topeka mentality of, well, Kansas City is an hour away. So if I want to do it, Kansas City has it. I'll just go over there and do it.
yeah,
We've had a lot of things go in and then go back out because, well, Kansas City had it, and yeah, we have it in town, but Kansas City city.
yeah, we used to run into that a lot back when my family still had the carnival out, because we would go to towns 20 miles down the road from a bigger town, and they wouldn't be happy with us. They would want to know why they couldn't have the carnival that the town or small city up the road got. And of course, the difference in attendance and gross was why they couldn't, but you could never make them understand that. So at Topeka, they just don't understand why Kansas City can do it and they can't. I still think Topeka could do it as long as they decide to do it on a smaller scale.
Maybe.
Also, I think they would have to use some used equipment. I don't think that anybody is going to make a go of that with. I mean, you look at 10 to 15 rides, you're looking at several $1 million worth of investment for new equipment. That doesn't include landscaping, parking, electrical, water, sewer, concessions, game equipment. So I'm kind of surprised Topeka hasn't had one of these new places start up there like we have, like a lot of places are getting now, where they don't have any mechanical rides, but they've got trampoline jumps and rock walls and inflatables.
There's one that's in the process of going in. They've already put $1 million into the building, into buying the property, and $1 million into renovating the building that they picked out. And you can't tell anything by the looks of it. They're about to put another $1 million into finishing the building and getting the rides in.
Yeah, that's probably.
So it looks like we probably won't see it happen.
Yeah.
It's a lady from Florida who's like, well, this is what you need, and then she hasn't gotten the financial support of investors that she thought, because, again, people say, well, there's a trampoline park in Kansas City.
Yeah, the other thing you run into when you start trying to open a park like that is very few people have the skills to open a park on their own. So most people rely on consultants to help them decide on where to put it and negotiate for the property and purchase the equipment. And in a lot of cases, those consultants are not looking out for the best interest of the project. And that's one of the things that I like to pride myself on is that I've been there trying to make a business run on a small to medium scale. So if somebody is trying to do something like this, I really want them to succeed, and I'm going to tell them everything I can to help them avoid the things that are going to cost them money. So I really wish more people would get a hold of me before they start investing in the equipment. And we continue to build the reputation of the Midway and Mr. Midway. Hopefully that eventually that will happen. I am available to consult, to do appraisals, and if you're looking to book equipment, there's lots of good companies listed on the website that you can check into. Well, Mitchell, as much as I hate it, it sounds like it's about that time.
It is 9:58. So
Yeah.
I would say that it is approaching that time.
Yeah. Well, I think we had a good show. Everybody, it's midwaymarketplace.com, mr-midway.com, or mr-midway.com. You get on the website, you've got links to all my social media pages. If you connect with me over there, I'll be more than happy to follow you back or connect back to you. If you want to be part of next week's Hangout, then message me through Google or add me to your circle, and I'll add you back, and we'll get you into the Hangout for next week. Or you can email questions to Maxwell@midwaymarketplace.com, Maxwell@midwaymarketplace.com, and I'll be more than happy to answer your questions and mention your name, company name, and website during the show. The YouTube channel is on YouTube. Look for Midway Marketplace, or you can just follow the link over from the website. I would appreciate it if you would subscribe to my feed. We're still sitting on 26 subscribers, and for anybody that subscribes this week, I will mention you on Facebook and Twitter after you subscribe. That's the best I got for them.
At this point in time.
At this point in time, yeah. Yeah. I would appreciate it if y'all would share the links to this show after it's posted, and tell your friends about us. We'll be back again next week, Wednesday, 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Pacific, and etc. Whatever time it is where you live. Well, Mitchell, I want to thank you for coming in and being the moderator, and I'm sure we'll have more participation next week, because I will definitely get the day and time right next time. Thank you for helping out.
It's always a pleasure, Max.
Yeah. I'm glad that I've met you and that you're continuing to help do this, and hopefully a few weeks from now we'll be out doing some shows.
We can only hope.
Yep. Well, that's the only way to do it, is to hope. So, all righty, I will talk to you next week, and take care now.
I always plan on it. Have a good night, Max.
You too. Good night.